Good evening, Rovers fans, and welcome to the post-match stream live after Blackburn's 1-1 draw away at Luton Town. I will make you all a promise. I do promise we will talk about referee Gavin Ward. So I've already told Luke, Alex and Jacob in advance that this show is not going to be focused on Gavin Ward. But of course, if you all want to comment on Gavin Ward or Rovers' performance as a whole, please do hit us with comments in the comments box. We will pick them up, of course, but we're going to try and digest the game a little bit more than just the final few minutes when there were two still very questionable refereeing decisions. I'm in the top right of the screen today, sitting in the seat of Joe Harvey at Rovers Analytics, so delighted to be in this one. But we've got Luke back with us today. How are you, Luke?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Frustrations kicked in about the referee, but we'll move on to that at some point later. But yeah, it's good to be back. Good to be back.
Good to have you back, mate. And Jacob, you're in the top left. You're in the golden chair. How are you, mate?
Certainly am. I just want to clarify, I may share the same last name as the ref, but I'm not related to him in any way, thankfully.
Well, we'll reserve judgment on that one, mate. And Alex, thanks for joining us again, mate.
Yeah, no problem, Ryan. It'll be good to digest what we've just seen, really. Pretty frustrating day, but yeah, I'm sure we'll all have a lot to say.
I suspect it's going to be very, very lively. I can still see comments coming in straight away, so please do interact with us tonight, Rovers fans. A bit of a bitter one for us to take with how that ended, but we will pick up those comments. If you're not following us on Twitter, we are Rovers_chat on Twitter. And on YouTube, Rovers Chat, please give our channel a subscribe and this video a like. But before we dissect the game, we are, of course, sponsored by 6yardsout.com. The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 6yardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below. So I think Jacob's have been taking some tips from the Luton cameraman tonight, evicting Alex from the stream and also allowing me and Luke to just look startled in the camera whilst we were waiting for that sponsor to come through. But thanks, of course, to 6yardsout.com. So, Luke, I'm going to start with you if I can. We'll just talk about the game first and foremost. Was it a fair result? You know, what were your thoughts on that?
I think going into perhaps the last 20 minutes, I'd have said we'd have been lucky to pick up a draw because I thought we were absolutely dreadful in that first half. There was a completely flat midfield. I thought that Rothwell were having to come way too deep to have to make anything happen. Tom Tribal was just passing it sideways, really negative for me. So yeah, to get into sort of half-time level, I thought was fortunate. On the whole then, if you look at the last 10 minutes and some of the decisions and some of the chances that we had, no, I think we should have probably won the game. But yeah, it's how you look at it, really.
Yeah, that's it. And Rovers fans, please do let us know what you think about the game. Was it overall a fair result? If you just take that last 5 minutes out of the equation with those two decisions, was it a fair result? We've got a couple of comments in already. Jay Metcalf, Armstrong poor today, only turned up when Luton scored. Point fair, but not good enough. And then Scott Taylor agreeing with you, Luke. We were completely awful in the first half. So some opinions there that are in line with yours, Luke. So, Alex, I'm going to come on to you. Just sum up your thoughts about the game, whether you thought it was a fair result.
It was a very strange game for me. I think it was probably summed up by 10 minutes either end of the match. Probably the first 10 minutes, we were really on the back foot. I thought Luton started the game really well. They pressed us really high, and I don't think we had the answers to that. And I think probably as the game wore on, I think we got stronger and stronger. And I thought the last 10 to 15 minutes we really dominated the match. And I think that's probably where the frustration lies after the game, is that at that very late stage we probably had the better chances to nick it, really. But I think over the piece, I think we probably edged the match. Edged is the right word. We didn't deserve to win the game clearly. It wasn't like a clear deserved win at all. But I would say it was a very blood and thunder game, I think is the right word. A lot of effort, a lot of endeavour, but not much quality. Not much killer instinct, not much craft to really create those chances. So yeah, I would say a draw was probably a fair result, but nonetheless, it's still extremely frustrating.
Yeah, it is. And I think you're right on that, Alex. I think the last 10 minutes, because it is obviously the last 10 minutes that we've just watched, it might just be kind of, elevating our opinion the game a little bit. I think it was only those last 10 minutes where we did dominate that ball and Luton just sat in. So I agree with you. I think over the course of the game, did we do enough? But we will, of course, come on to the last 10 minutes and those refereeing decisions. Couple more comments in here. Scott Taylor, we certainly didn't deserve to win, in my opinion. And Ryan Rich 757, I can't decide whether to cry or laugh. Yes, I am with you, Ryan, on that one. I was certainly speechless, but we will get onto that as well. Jacob, give us your thoughts about the game. Summarise that for us. Did you think it was a fair result?
In the grand scheme of things, it probably was a fair result. I think we looked really bad today at some points. I think, like Joe mentioned before the game, and like I put in my the lineup I wanted to see, I think the combination of Bradley Johnson and Tom Tribal in that midfield just didn't work. We just looked short of options, bar Joe Rothwell. It was the only kind of spark we had in that midfield for the first half, and for vast majorities of the second half. It was only when Tribal went off and Elliott then came into the midfield we saw a bit of a difference. But no, it's beyond me why he keeps persisting with playing these two defensive-minded midfielders together when it hasn't worked with Evans and Tribal or Evans and Johnson. And today's just proved again it just doesn't work. It should have been either Stuart Downing starting or Buckley starting over Tribal, in my opinion, because I thought he was really poor today. It was, like Luke mentioned, so negative at times.
Sure. And I'm just going to pick up a comment here from Dan Woods, who asked, where was Tony Mowbray? We actually chatted about this within our Rovers Chat group chat. He sat on the top row of the lower tier for quite a long time. He didn't really go down to the touchline, and I'm convinced that iFollow thought that Mark Venus was our manager, the amount of times they kept panning to him. And then eventually Venus went and stood up on that the lower tier as well. So both of them didn't really get involved down on the touchline till quite late on. But I do promise Tony Mowbray was there, and obviously we did see him towards the end as well. A comment here from Leap Year Man, possibly fair 1-1, but how many games are tight and a team gets a break at the end, which ref denied? And I think that is probably where the frustration is coming from. We spoke on the pre-match stream about how tough this game would be against Luton, and that these are the games that you've got to go to places like Luton and win. Teams that are in that mid-table that aren't going to go down, aren't going to go up. And yeah, that's what we wanted. We wanted that break at the end where Barry Douglas, from either of those positions, I'd say, is possibly going to have a good go at putting that free kick in. So I think that, yeah, we've been denied that opportunity right at the end, haven't we? Which is frustrating. So, Luke, I'm going to come back to you just to focus on the players today. Who played well for you today, if you just want to pick someone out for their performance?
There are a few for me. I could go for one of... I've wrote 4 down, really, but I'm gonna go with Rothwell. I don't think it was his best game in a Rovers shirt, but I think given how difficult the circumstances were when we're talking about playing with them two defensive midfielders, he was trying, and you could see the endeavour with her. He was dropping deep. He was trying to get on the ball. He was trying to make things happen. Yeah, it wasn't coming off all the time, but I think Rothwell was sort of sat in that midfield, seeing what all we could see watching the game. That unless he did drop deep, unless he got on the ball and tried to make things happen, we weren't going to even get one goal today. It just wasn't there. So for me, I think Rothwell, did enough to at least get a shout out. Definitely.
And Alex, your man of the match, are you backing up Luke, on Joe Rothwell there, or have you got someone else who you're picking out as your player who played well?
I think Rothwell was certainly the Rovers' best player. But if you want me to talk about somebody else, I would probably say someone who, rather than really play well today, but I would say more continues to impress me, and that's Kaminski in goal. He just makes the key saves when we need him. And it's just such a big difference to Walton last season, where you just feared any moment that there could just be an innocuous shot that gets let in through the fingers of the goalkeeper. I think he's going about his business really well at the minute. I think he's not really had that much of a run in the side, just with disruption, with injuries and COVID and all that kind of thing. But I think going forward, I think he's going to be a really key player for us this season. And I think he made a really good save in the second half, which he has been making those saves. But I think the fact that he's continuing to make those saves, I don't want to jinx him, but so far he's been an excellent signing and he continues to impress me.
Yeah, he made a really top save, didn't he, from it was a corner or something, that header. That was a real top draw save, I thought. And, all good sides, whatever division you're in, is built on a good goalkeeper. So it's good that we've got someone like Kaminski who it feels like we can rely on now. Rovers fans, let us know who was your standout player today. Do you agree with Luke on Joe Rothwell? Do you agree with Alex on Thomas Kaminski? Although Alex also thinks Rothwell. Does Kaminski deserve some credit as well? Jacob, who was your standout player today?
Most definitely Joe Rothwell, and I think Kaminski would be a close second. But I think someone else who impressed me today was Barry Douglas. I mean, before today, he'd only had 2 appearances for the club, and he assisted Sam Gallagher's goal. And I think for the entire game, he looked very solid at the back. It's nice to have a feeling safe in that left back position, something I can't really associate with Amari Bell, to be honest. But no, some of the switches of play we're doing over the top to that right hand side over to Elliott, sometimes they were coming off and allowing us to really drive at Luton, and sometimes they did go out of play, but it's something he can offer there. And also the corners that he were putting in as well were a lot better than we've been seeing when Holtby's been putting them in. There was the Scott Wharton one that forced a good save, and then there was another one that had the keeper sprawling and nearly put that one in as well. So no, I think he made a really good account of himself today. Yeah,
I think he had a good game as well. The one who I think also had a good game today is Ben Brereton. I think he's just getting stronger and stronger and more influential as each game goes. And when he's trying those runs now, which, to be fair to him, he's always done that through his Rovers career. He's tried to get down the side and take players on. He just seems to be doing that with more regularity now and getting past people and making things happen. And a little bit unlucky today not to score, perhaps. But no, I thought he did really well, Brereton. He's become a real important player for us. Just to pick up some of the comments then, Leap Year Man agrees with you, Jacob, about the waste, having 2 defensively minded midfield players in the 3, crying out for Buckley today. Yeah, Buckley, I'm surprised we've not seen more game time for Buckley, and he's a player that Mowbray seems to have talked up in the past as well, so I'm surprised we've not seen more of him. Maybe he'll get some game time over these next 11 games before January. Scott Taylor agrees with you, Alex. Feels good to have trust in a keeper again. Wayne Redfern, Ben Brereton played well too. Sean Fox, Alex, I'm going to come to you. Douglas a bit suspect on the Luton goal. What's your thoughts on that?
I've tried to think about the Luton goal, and I've tried to think about it in an objective way. I think first I have to say that the lad has slipped and inadvertently put a perfect cross in to the lad in the box, and he's put the ball into the net. So there's an element of good fortune around that goal, definitely. I think Brereton gives the ball away cheaply at the top end of the pitch as we're passing out from the back. And then I think from there, we're kind of exposed in midfield. And then Douglas probably backs off a bit too much, and it leaves room for this lad to slip. So a very disappointing goal. And I thought at that point, to be honest with you, that we were going to be looking at a defeat. So I'm kind of encouraged in some ways that the character was there to dig ourselves out of the hole we were in and bounce back and salvage at least a point, which I thought was the minimum we deserved, really.
Yeah. And just a couple more comments here. Kirsch63, Brereton, Rothwell, Wharton and Kaminsky all look good. Gutted to lose JRC as he was another. We'll talk about ranking Costello shortly, I think, Kirsch, when we're talking about talking points in the game. And then Michael Pearson, Brereton is far more direct these days, helped out defensively, immeasurable work rate. And I think that immeasurable work rate is something that I think he's always done at Rovers, actually. I think he's just managing to channel things into certain areas now and be more effective in that attacking third. Jacob, I'm just going to come to you on Scott Wharton, given that Kirsch has called Wharton out as well. Do you think Wharton had a good game as well?
Yeah, I think he made another solid performance, and I do still think it would be harsh to drop him when Williams and Ayala do come back, even though he more than likely will be. But no, he had a really solid game and had one of our best chances in the game as well with that header. It was just a shame that the keeper had to pull off a really good save. But no, he's still a bit naive with some of the balls over the top, a bit Lenian-esque, some of them, to be honest, and they just go out for a throw-in or manage to go all the way to the keeper. But other than that, really solid, really good in the air on the set pieces, what we know Luton excel in, and made another really good account of himself.
Brilliant. Luke, I'm going to come to you now. We're going to move on to players that maybe didn't play so well today. Anyone that you feel didn't make an impact on the game or didn't do so well?
Quick mention to sort of Elliot and Eimer, I think, today, because just that sort of game where they just didn't get into it, didn't have that opportunity to get into it. But if we're going to talk about who really didn't have a great game, it was Tom Tribal, weren't it? Didn't get into it at all. No impact on the game whatsoever. No positive impact, at least. Always passing with sideways. Really, really negative. I think, like you say, alongside Johnson, it just doesn't have the opportunity to excel, either of them. Johnson didn't have a great game either. It just leaves us really flat, I think, and really boring. Not much else to say on it, really. It's just disappointing when we set out like that, and you always know that you're going to end up talking about that setup come the end. Yeah,
and Rovers Analytics, Joe gave me a good insight this morning, actually, when he was talking about, when you were looking at the heat maps and seeing how similar those two were. And I said it earlier on as well about how in a midfield three, I just think you need different players that can do different things in the three. And maybe we found out today that Johnson and Tribal together didn't quite work today, and it crying out for something a little bit different. And maybe that's where Bradley Dack might slot in, that
desperate
might be
for it.
Yeah, that might be the one. Yeah, tough on Tribal today. I do think he's a neat and tidy player, and I do think he has his place in this squad, certainly. But yeah, not a good game for him. Sean Fox agreeing with you, Luke, on the comments. Tribal was bad. Are we not putting him in position to get the best out of him? Does he not suit us, or is he not actually as good as expected / hope? I think on that, Sean, I think when you're loaning any player, that probably says a lot. We've not spent money on Tom Tribal, have we? And Norwich have been happy to let him go. So I don't think he's come with a massive expectation in my mind. But maybe some of us were expecting a little bit more in an attacking sense. I think it's quite clear now he's going to be that sitter, and that's someone that does those sideways, backwards passes that gets us on the move rather than actually penetrating defences. Alex, I'm going to come to you. Anyone that didn't quite impact the game for you today?
I concur with everything that Luke just said about Tom Tribal. I think I was so disappointed, not only with the sideways and backwards passing, but also how he slowed the game down.
Yeah.
When he got the ball, he paused with it and waited for several seconds and then passed. If he's passing sideways but keeps the ball moving, keeps the play moving at a fast pace, that makes a massive difference. But he was getting the ball in the middle of the park, and he was sitting there with it, waiting for other players to move. it was slowing the whole pan of the team down. It was, even in the first half, we missed a couple of opportunities to counter-attack on Luton just because the urgency wasn't there from Tribal. And I think another player I would mention is that I don't want to be too harsh on him, but I thought it was Harvey Elliott's quietest game in a Rovers shirt by a long way. I thought all of our play came down the left-hand side today. Other than when Nyambi came on, I very rarely remember us getting down that right-hand side with any regularity. I thought Brereton was where all of our play came from, Rothwell as well. So I think Elliott and Rankin Costello together on that side today, they didn't have as big an impact as they've had in the past. And I thought that was just an observation I would make. It's not exactly a criticism, but it's more just an observation that I didn't think they didn't have their best games today, in my opinion. And you can give credit to Luton for that. They've probably studied Rovers and they've studied our threats, and they've decided that they'd pay extra attention to Harvey Elliott with his ability to pass the ball and unlock defences, and they've managed to suffocate him today. But yeah, I thought, comparing to his previous standards, I thought Elliott fell below that today.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you, Alex. I think observation is the right word, and I do think it's credit to Luton, actually, because I think when Elliott did get on the ball in the second half in particular, he looked neat and tidy. He looked like the Harvey Elliott we know, and Rankin Costello the same. He was more of an attacking threat in the second half, but certainly his quietest game, certainly in that first half. I just remember thinking, not seeing much from Harvey Elliott today. It was, definitely a quiet game, but not. I don't think necessarily they played bad. Just Luton, as you say, did the number on them, didn't they? Jacob, I'm going to come on to you. Anyone that you want to pick out who didn't have a good game or didn't impact it in the way that you'd like?
Yeah, I can only reiterate what Luke and Alex have said. At one point in the first half, I did honestly forget Harvey Elliott and Tom Tribal were playing, to be honest with you. They just did nothing in that first half, the pair of them. I think Harvey Elliott really suffered from not having Lewis Holtby playing, having those two defensive-minded midfielders and no one to help him out on that right-hand side. So I think he was just lost, and the only time he ever got on the ball was when Douglas was hooping it over the top to him. And Tom Tribal is basically just a German Corey Evans, in my opinion. He's just a sideways, backwards passer. There's nothing going forwards. And he's probably going to be a player I'm going to be getting more and more annoyed at, because he's probably going to be playing more than Bradley Johnson will be. But in my opinion, Bradley Johnson at least offers more than being a defensive-minded midfielder. We know Bradley Johnson can hit a ball very well at distance, and also has that passing ability and isn't scared to drive with the ball. There was just one time in particular where there was so much space in front of Tribal and he just stopped, let the Luton players go back and then made the pass. And it's just, we know that counter-attacking is our best trait in this team with, the likes of Ben Brereton, Armstrong and Elliott running it. Yeah, you're scared. And just to do that is just completely... just goes against everything we're good at. And from what we heard from the Luton fan, they're not very good against the counter-attack, and we just played right into their hands today, unfortunately.
Feels like this midfield three is going to evolve over the season, and luckily for us, we've got quite a few players that can play in that midfield three, and Bradley Dack to come back, as we've spoken about. So wouldn't surprise me if Mowbray doesn't actually land on the midfield three of his choice until January, February time. That wouldn't surprise me. So we've got to say Lewis Travis and Bradley Dack are in the first choice midfield three, aren't they? So these players that we're seeing now, aren't going to be the ones that finish the season, hopefully. So it will evolve and it will gel and it will get better, I think. I did just see that funny comment that you brought up there, Jacob. I did well not to laugh. We spoke in the pre-match stream about Stuart Downing, and I think it was Jacob and Joe both had Downing in their side, and Wayne Redfern has made a comment here. I think if Downing was fit, he would have played centre mid instead of Tribal. The choice should be either Johnson or Tribal. I don't blame Tribal, but not so much solid choice with injuries, etc. Is that where you are, Luke? Do you think, it's not Tribal's fault necessarily? It's going to have to be an either or as far as Tribal's concerned now and what you've seen?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a fault of the system at the moment. I think going forward we're going to be playing this 4-3-3 system absolutely, but playing with two defensive minded players it isn't going to work. It's shown that it's not worked. But I think when we've got a fully fit squad, it's going to be Lewis Travis that's in that holding position, and I think he's a lot more positive of a player, and yet we'll still get the player that can break up play, slow things down when he needs to, but he's absolutely more positive when it comes to getting forward as well. So when Lewis Travis comes back, I've not got any concerns at all. We've got good options as well with Tribal and Johnson, and Lewis Holtby even can sit a bit further if we need to. So we've got the options and we've got the strength in depth now, which we haven't had for a long time. So when Travis comes back, great, we've got that, but we've got options, and I like that at the moment.
It certainly looks exciting, and we've all said before, I think it's just who is injured at the moment rather than how many are injured at the moment. If it was Dak and Travis still in that midfield three, but it was a rotation of injuries between Rothwell, Holtby, Johnson, etc., I think we wouldn't be having these conversations about the midfield three. But it's the fact that those two are missing. It's a bit of a shame. We've lost Alex, who obviously does not like our midfield three, so we will.
We've gone to a midfield three.
That's it. We're in a midfield three.
I'm not being Corey Evans.
Without the moustache.
We will restore Alex from the internet wherever he has gone in a moment. So we're going to move on to the talking points for the games. So Rovers fans, please do hit us with your comments about the talking points. Welcome back, Alex. We've retrieved you from the Matrix. You are here. You're back with us. We're just going to move on to our talking points. Alex, Rovers fans, please do hit us with your comments and what your talking points were. I'd like us just to canter through the game a little bit, if we can, and probably we will finish talking about Mr. Gavin Ward. So, Jacob, I'm going to start with you. First half, I think we had to weather a bit of a storm, didn't we, in those first 10, 15 minutes. Fair play to Luton. They came at us. They were looking a bit dominant. And then we slowly edged our way into the game. But in truth, it was a bit of a ball fest in the first half, wasn't it?
Yeah, I found it really frustrating to watch. And, the only positives I could take from that first half were Ben Brereton and Rothwell. Just everything was coming down that side, like we've already mentioned. And there's no other reason for that than playing the two defensive-minded midfielders, because those two, Ben Brereton and Rothwell, were just running at Luton, and those were the only times we looked threatening the entire game, really. But no, I feel like Tony Mowbray can be a bit stubborn sometimes.
We've lost Jacob into the Matrix. We've got gremlins on the line. Is he back?
It's looking that way.
I can see him. He's moving slightly. We will hopefully retrieve Jacob from the Matrix as well. What's more disturbing is he's controlling the stream. So Luke, Alex and myself are going to be like the iFollow camera in a moment, I think, if we have to cover the stream. So Alex, I'm just going to come to you, mate. If you could just carry on, what Jacob was saying there about the first half and just what your assessment was at halftime.
I think the big thing for me from the first half was that it looked very disjointed. It looked like it was the first game back after an international break. I thought the interaction between Wharton and Douglas wasn't really there at the start of the match. I thought they were kind of uncertain next to each other. It didn't look like they had any kind of relationship whatsoever. So that was interesting to see. There was a few sloppy passes going on, the ones that we could actually see with the camera work. But I think on the whole, other than that first 10 minutes, I would say that we've already talked about, it was just a very stodgy match, really. There was no real quality chances from either side. I mean, Luton had that bundle in the box where really they should have scored. But yeah, other than that, we went in at half-time pretty much, I would say, frustrated with the way we'd played. But obviously, it's still 0-0 away from home. It's still not like a terminal situation for the match. So I wasn't exactly angry at half time. It was just more of a frustration that I don't think we could really get any sort of flow to the match. And I think it's sort of understandable the first game back after a break.
Yeah. Luke, it's going to be one of me or you into the Matrix next, I think.
Probably.
So, yeah, we'll get ready for our little stint into the ether of the internet. Jacob is now doing a complete wheel of indecision, which is brilliant.
We've got two of
Is
it.
it twice?
Here we go. So, Luke, I'm going to just offer you a view if I can. So, we took Tom Tribal off, and we've spoken about Tribal and his impact on this game. And within a few minutes, Luton scored. So, that goal, do you think we were a bit too open before that, leading up to that goal? Did they have a lot of time to get that cross in? Were they able to break through like they might not have done before? Do you think that played a part in the goal?
I don't think it did. I think it was just a moment where we switched off. It was a really, really poor goal to concede. As soon as I saw it, it's just you're instantly head in your hands and you're thinking, how have we conceded a goal like that? It was scrappy. It was just a sequence of events, really, that unfortunate. It happens. It's football. I don't think it's owing to the substitution. I think we were going for the game, obviously, and Sam Gallagher, credit to him, got the goal and equalised. So ultimately it paid off, but it come at a cost. But owing to the substitution, not particularly, I don't think.
No. Jacob, are you back with us? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I think I'm here for good now, thankfully.
Well, I'm going to give you this nice gift wrap present because I know that you're going to love talking about this. So, substitute for Rovers, Sam Gallagher comes on. Sam Gallagher grabs an equaliser. So, talk us through that substitution and the impact that Gallagher had on the game.
No, to credit to Sam, he did score. He came on and I thought he cursed us again because he came on against Swansea, didn't he? And as soon as he came on, they went and scored, did Swansea. So that's exactly what happened today. But no, not long after he scored, obviously, not long after they scored, rather, he went and scored. But again, it's come from a striker's position, a poacher's finish, and it just, again, reinforces the point that he should not be played on the wing, in my opinion. Both of his goals this season have come from those sort of areas, right in the centre, in the box, and he puts it in because he is a decent finisher, to be fair to him. But again, he just, I don't know why Mowbray persists with him on the wing, because none of his attributes excel on the wing. But again, he's shown that maybe he should have subbed Armstrong off today and put Gallagher there, because Armstrong did obviously have a very quiet game.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think what's clear now, and we said it on the pre-match stream, we know what our first choice front three is going to be. It's going to be Elliott. Elliott played 90 minutes again today, so quite clear to me that we've got an agreement with Liverpool that Harvey Elliott is going to get some serious game time whilst he's at us, so I think he's going to be on the right. Brereton is one of the first names on the team sheet at the moment. So really, that's Adam Armstrong and Sam Gallagher fighting out for the central spot, aren't they? So you're right, Gallagher's going to have to keep doing what he did today. He's come on and he's given Mowbray something to think about now. Armstrong didn't have his best game and Gallagher's come on and got the goal. So that's the right way to do it. And we've spoken about options. We've spoken about depth. That's the type of depth and option I want. I want to know that we can bring Sam Gallagher on and he might bag a goal. So really, really pleased for him today. Good that he bagged that goal. Alex, last 15 minutes, it looked like there was only one side that was going to win the game. Spoke earlier about that period of 15 minutes where we were keeping the ball. We were pinning Luton in a bit. There was one chance where I don't know how we didn't score when it came across the goal. And then Brereton managed to lay it back to Rothwell, I think it was, and then it got blocked. Did it just look like Rovers, it was a matter of if, not when, or when, not if, at the end there?
I would have loved to have said that it was a matter of when, because I think historically Rovers haven't won many games either coming from behind, away from home to win, or winning a game in the very dying stages of the match. It's more that we kind of blow teams away early on and then we're hanging on at the end. So it's very rare in my experience that we kind of grab a late winner. I think we talked about that big chance, didn't you, Ryan, where there was that goal mouth scramble. I think it displayed the classic Sam Gallagher. He should have scored that chance, in my opinion. I thought that was Gallagher's chance to score. I didn't think it was Rothwell's or Armstrong's chance, really. I thought the clear chance there was for Gallagher. And it was a team effort, really. It was nowhere near the corner of the goal. And it just gave Luton that second they needed to get bodies on the line and kind of scramble it clear. But I think other than that, I think what changed the game was obviously the way we responded to going behind. I think scoring just a few minutes after they scored, it really pinned them on the back foot then. And I kind of got the sense that the manager thought the game was only going in one direction and they threw some subs on as well. So then they kind of went for it a bit more, but we had that extra quality in midfield to keep that ball. So yeah, it was more back to what we've seen before in earlier games this season when we've really suffocated teams, Coventry, Wickham, Derby, those kind of games where we just were relentless. But ultimately, I don't think you can rely in this division on winning games if you only have a 15-minute spell of domination. To win games in this division, you need to be playing well for 45 minutes, 60 minutes at a time, and 15 minutes really isn't enough time to get the 2 goals we needed in the end.
Just on the chances, I actually do think it was a big chance for Armstrong as well. When you are top scorer in the division and it's been set back to you like that, I'm expecting Armstrong to at least hit the target. The thing I did notice, though, Brereton was quite close to him and I think ended up on the floor right in front of where Armstrong was. So whether Armstrong was thinking, I'm going to have to get some height on this shot to get it over Brereton, I don't know. I am surprised he went high with that and not low into the corner. But I do think it was a good chance for Armstrong on his right foot, top scorer in the division. And yeah, the Gallagher chance, if it's on his right foot, maybe he does bend it into that corner. Shame it was on his left foot, but it was a real golden opportunity. Yes, it was. Luke, Alex has just referenced there, really important for us, wasn't it, to hit back so quickly after Luton took the lead. Had that gone on for 10 minutes longer, could you have seen Luton just settling into a pattern and us really struggling to get that equaliser?
Yeah, that's what we've seen on occasion now. Well, I say occasion, it's happened far too many times that we go behind and we don't make that sort of instant reply. I think when we do that, we get on the front foot again. It always takes us going behind to get going. It's the most frustrating thing about watching Blackburn Rovers, and it's happened for years and years now. Like we've said already on this stream, what we tend to do is get a few early goals and go and sit back, and that's something historically that we've done. When we don't do that, we always look vulnerable to conceding, and ultimately, when that happens, we finally get going again. But we often find it hard to get that instant reply, that equaliser, or just get back in the game as such. Today, it really helped us, and we did get back on the front foot after that, and luckily managed to get the ball down and start playing some football, because at some points in that game you're looking at it, and I wouldn't have been surprised if there was sand on the floor and there were 12 Brazilians that are watching a game of volleyball because it were in the air that much, honestly. But yeah, we managed to get back in it, and it was a shame in the end that we couldn't pull it off. But
oh dear. So before we move on to the game's obvious big talking point, I'm just going to pick up a comment here from Michael Pearson. Momentum and fitness looked with us late on. Yeah, it did. We really did look strong going into that final 10, 15 minutes there, Michael. We've got Very Through. Cheers from Ohio. Thanks for joining us, Very Through. Good to have you with us. So please keep interacting with us. So we are now going to come to the game's big talking point. Rovers clearly dominating that last 10 to 15 minutes. A few chances that didn't quite go our way. But two big decisions that have been made by Gavin Ward there. One with Adam Armstrong going through on goal, and then the other that he has rued Ben Brereton to have dived rather than be clipped, which I think you could see he definitely got clipped. It certainly was not a dive. I'm just going to pick up the comments from everyone before coming to you, Jacob. Simon Child, I'm amazed the referee got influenced by the home crowd when there wasn't even one there. Ryan Rich, bad game, bad camera, bad ref, a fun afternoon. And Harry Fretwell, who I'm going to assume is a Luton fan or possibly Preston or Burnley or something like that. Gavin Ward with a blue love heart. It's a great big talking point, isn't it? Both of those positions. Barry Douglas is going to fancy his chances with a free kick, Jacob. How big was that? You know, in a game that's 1-1, where we've had to grind it out, we've had to really work hard, and Luton have done really well. You're relying on a chance like that, aren't you, to snatch those 3 points? You know, what were your thoughts about both of those decisions?
It was a disgrace all game, and not even just those two decisions right at the end. What really was the icing on the cake, but the fact that we had 4 yellow cards and Luton had none baffled me. They should have at least had 1 or 2 if we had 4. And the fact that Ben Brereton didn't get 1 foul today, and he must have gone down about 6 or 7 times at least. Like I said before the game, maybe he's been having some antics with the referee's wife or something, because he really didn't like him, did he? But then the 2 right at the end were, like I said, were just the icing on the cake. The Armstrong one is obviously a yellow card, and then the Ben Brereton one could be argued as well. Just ridiculous, and I was that mad after the Ben Brereton one. I tore up my notes and also broke my notepads. Yeah, that's how mad I was.
Oh, brilliant, Jacob. I love that. I'm going to give Harry Fretwell the right of reply. It was sarcasm. I'm a Rovers fan. So thanks, Harry. We will give you that right of reply. Alex, just going to pick up a comment here from Sean Fox. Certainly was not a dive, but is Brio perhaps getting a bit of a reputation? He does go down pretty easily. What's your thoughts on that? Because I look at someone like Jack Grealish in the Premier League, who has mastered the art of winning free kicks. Are we just seeing that from Brereton to try and get us into some good positions?
I think Brereton's always had that aspect to his game. I remember people sarcastically saying, not that long ago, before we saw the huge improvement in his all-round game, that really the only thing he offered us was the chance of a penalty, just with diving over. But in all seriousness, I think what we've seen from this ref today is a prejudgment of the players that he's refereeing and allowing that to influence a lot of his decisions. I think it's pretty obvious from watching today's game that he's made his mind up before the game that Ben Brereton probably goes down slightly too easily. He probably does. If we were all asked, do you think he goes down a bit too easily? We'd probably say yes. But he allows his views of players to cloud his judgments during the match. And you cannot ref a game in an objective and fair way if you form opinions about players before you've stepped on the pitch. And the last thing I'd say is, when all this lockdown ends, I want to go to a Rovers game with Jacob, and hopefully I don't get hit when a dodgy decision goes against us. But I think that would be certainly an interesting thing.
I'll have to straight up on that.
Oh, brilliant. And then Luke, where are you on both of the decisions? The Adam Armstrong one, I think, is in particular a completely baffling decision when he's got ahead of those 2 centre-backs. And the Brereton one, I do think he was clipped as well. Where are you on both those decisions?
Mate, raging. So the Armstrong decision, that's another that we've seen already this season, and I don't get how they can give defenders the benefit of the doubt. I mean, these are, in inverted commas, experienced referees. They obviously know the league, and they obviously know that Adam Armstrong is the top scorer in this division and what he offers, why he is top scorer. He's fast, he plays off the last defender, and ultimately there's no way that he's getting caught by any person off that pitch when he gets pulled down, even if he's second last man. But he wasn't, and he was sort of just sandwiched, weren't he? And it's a definite red card for me, that one. There's no doubt about it, and there's no bias involved there. Any team I'm watching, that's a red card. The Brereton one, yeah, perhaps he does go down a little bit easier far too often, but I mean, there's contact there, and when there's contact, and you've got a player now playing with such confidence and running at defenders with this newfound pace that he's sort of reignited from his early Forest days, you're always going to go down. I mean, you see a lot of players, and you look at, you mentioned Jack Grealish, he goes down most of the time because he's running at pace, and any clip, even if you manage to get out of the way of it, you're running that quickly, you ultimately go down. So I think it's unfair that Brereton's got this sort of, tag now that he goes down easily. I think it's part of his game, and it's something that it's going to keep happening. We can't shy away from it. We're going to be having these conversations over and over again. But he shouldn't be unfairly treated by referees on that respect, and certainly wasn't a booking. Maybe not a pen, maybe outside the box, but how he got booked, I'll never know.
Let us know, Rovers fans, what you think about the decisions. Where do you stand on the Armstrong one and the Brereton one? Do you think both should have been free kicks? Do you think Brereton did dive? Let us know in the comments box. I think where I'm at, I just want the referee to use his brain a little bit with the two decisions. So the Armstrong one, as you say, yeah. The Armstrong one, as you say, Luke, he's top goal scorer in the division. Why is he going down there? He wants to be the man that gets Rovers the winner. He wants to get more goals to stay on top of the top goal scorers chart. And as you say, he's got ahead of those two central defenders. Why is he going down? So just use your head a little bit, Gavin Ward. And then the second one, the Brereton one, there's no fans in this stadium. We can see the contact on the replay, so surely he can hear that contact on the replay in the game. He can hear that he's been clipped. Whether he thinks it's enough to bring him down, don't bloody book the guy for diving. I just think completely baffling on both of them, and really, really strange decisions. But hey-ho, what we do know is they weren't penalties that were going to be given. We're relying on the fact that Barry Douglas or someone else is going to stick the ball in the top corner and win us the game. We are still talking about ifs, buts, and maybes. Both of those free kicks, if they're given, might have just gone straight into the wall, and we're talking about a 1-1 draw and a different perspective. So I don't want to focus on it too much. So let's have a little nod into the next game just before picking up some of the comments. Michael Pearson, any touch when you're in flight is a foul. Physics, Newman Ali, the lad has had his shirt ripped, yet no free kick. Daniel Seaward, both free kicks. And Leap Year Man, shocking decisions. Always think that... think what has the striker got to gain by going down when they can score? Absolutely, Leap Year Man. That's where I am with that one. So Jacob, we're going to do a little nod to the next game then with the final 5 minutes of the stream. It's a big game, of course. Local rivalry, Preston away. From a footballing perspective, we spoke about on the pre-match stream about the number of points that we're going to need to get in these next 12 games. So we have drawn this game today, and it's a tough game at Preston on Tuesday night. So yes, we have got Barnsley after that, where we're probably looking at a win. We need to go and win this game on Tuesday to try and keep up that ratio of points that we need from these next 12, don't we?
We really do, yeah. That's put a lot of onus on that game now as today's result, because I were expecting a win today, and it's now put the pressure on the lads. I mean, Preston did get a 1-0 win today against Sheff Wednesday, I believe. So obviously they'll be going into the game with a bit more confidence, and just hoping and praying that it doesn't go anything like the last two times I've been to Deepdale, what's been nothing short of embarrassing both times. And also, I hope he doesn't make a sort of similar sort of decisions as he did last time with just making the one substitution. What was Danny Graham in like the 85th minute or something ridiculous? Because today he did something similar really, and he was forced into one substitution, and obviously Sam Gallagher was the other. But like I said before we got kicked off with this stream, and did he forget that we have 5 substitutes now? Can't understand why Buckley or Downing didn't come into the midfield today, but yeah.
Alex, I know that you are looking forward to this game. I can't remember if you said something for the Hall of Fame. You're going to have to remind me. I can't remember what you said. Did you say something or did someone else say something?
That was Joe.
Oh, it was Joe, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it wasn't you. I'm not going to get you to defend that. So, again, footballing-wise, important game now. Let's just take Preston and the rivalry out of the equation. It's a game of football that we're going to need to go and win after getting a draw today. And then today's draw then becomes a good draw when you're getting 4 points from 2 games. What are your thoughts going into the game on Tuesday night against Preston?
Well, we're playing a team that's just limped past Sheffield Wednesday 1-0 at home. I thought we're down to 10 men. I think I have seen that at some point on social media today. So, and I think as Michael says, they only had 1 shot on target today. So it's not a team that we should fear based on the quality of the players they've got. I think Jacob is exactly right by saying that I was looking to today's game to take the pressure off Tuesday night, just because I don't think you can escape from the whole rivalry aspect of it and our previous record. You just can't get away from that. It's very easy to kind of boil things down to, oh, this is just another match, but it very rarely is when we go there. And I think if we're frustrated today about poor refereeing decisions, then I would hold on to your hats for Tuesday night, because we're about to play a team that seems to get, for some bizarre reason, the most penalties of any team in England. So I'm expecting some pretty awful decisions on Tuesday as well. But I think by taking care of our business, by putting in a better performance than we did today, hopefully getting back to a bit more of that free-flowing football that we've seen at times this season, not consistently, admittedly, but we need to get to that kind of standard if we want to win on Tuesday. I think another thing I would say is that once again, we're depleted with injuries. I mean, we've lost Rankin Costello today with what looks like a pretty bad hamstring injury. And Bradley Johnson, a cynical foul on the halfway line to get suspended for the game. So, once again, we're going into another big match with effectively a matter of who is fit rather than who isn't fit. So it is a big concern, and putting all that aside, this is just such a key moment of the season. I mean, you look at the number of games we're about to play, they're all massive games, they're all cup finals effectively, and I just don't think we can afford to capitulate like we have done in the past 2 seasons at Deepdale. We just do not have the games and the points and the time. We just have to perform. We have to perform now.
Luke, I'm just going to pick up some of the comments that have been dropping in here. Michael Pearson, it will be a battle. They're not expansive. Simon Child got to hope. Holtby is back in. Newman Ali, is Johnson suspended? Simon Child, yes, Johnson is suspended. Tribal, it will have to be. With fans in the stadium, Deepdale and this derby game against Preston does need to be a battle when you've got both sets of fans really roaring everyone on. However, without fans in the stadium, is the loss of Bradley Johnson going to be as big as possibly it would have been with fans in the stadium, or is that a huge miss for us on Tuesday night?
I don't think it is. I think it all depends on who we've got fit. I mean, if Holtby's back, then and Tribal actually might have his chance to shine if he's playing there as a single defensive midfielder, allowing Rothwell to get forward a bit more and Holtby to be that sort of deep lying creative player. And ultimately, myself and you, Ryan, will remember a time when there was a big game at Preston and we had to go there and we had to get a result back in 2001, and Janssen did that. So we've been to Deepdale and we've needed big results before, and it's certainly a big one on Tuesday. We're sitting on 15 points, I think, with them on 16 now. They've been up there in previous years, so that they're a good side in this division. And ultimately, regardless of fans in the stadium, it is a derby, and the players will be feeling that. We've got a lot of players that have come through the youth system now with Dora, with Wharton. So there's that influence on the squad in the dressing room as well. So they'll know what it means. And games are coming thick and fast, and we've got to get the 3 points and kick on.
Yeah. And Leap Year Man has provided a comment here just to back up what you were saying. Luke, Johnson missing might help the balance of the midfield. So that's in a nod there to what you said about Tribal. And then Sean Fox, just a question of whether we need the bite that Johnson provides, and if so, can Tribal provide it? Jacob, I know you've not been impressed with Tribal today. Do you think Tribal can provide some of that bite that we need in the midfield on Tuesday?
I mean, if he can, he hasn't shown it yet, in my opinion. But like Luke mentioned, I do think he will have a better game on Tuesday, just simply because he isn't being paired with Bradley Johnson, who is so alike him. And to have a more balanced midfield will only mean that we will play better on Tuesday. There's no doubt in my mind that we will play a lot better than we did today, just simply because if Holtby is back, which hopefully he is, even if he isn't, we'll be having a Downing or a Buckley there because Johnson can't be played there now. And, well, I mean, he could always put Corey Evans back in, but God forbid.
So I'm going to wrap the stream up in a moment, but I am going to finish with Scott Taylor's comment here. 23 points to go, come on. And I think that's where I am, Scott. I think if we don't win on Tuesday night, I'm not going to panic too much, because if by the end of these 12 games we've got a good haul of points and we're up there, then ultimately it'll turn out all right. And who's to say that we can't win 3 in a week and beat Brentford, beat Norwich or whatever? That's not out the realms of possibility. So, Alex, is that where you are? If we don't beat Preston on Tuesday, are you going to panic?
Panic's the wrong word. I think ultimately, the more games you don't pick up the points, the more pressure is heaped on the remaining games and the more necessity there is to put a run together. So I think my frustration is that as these games tick by, as these games get lost and we're not picking up the points, it puts in enormous pressure on these players where it gets to the point where we have to win. We didn't have to win today. We don't have to win on Tuesday. But if we keep not winning these games, it will get to the point where we do have to win, and we have to win week in, week out. I think what I would caveat that by saying is that it is very rare in the Championship you win 3 games in 1 week. I mean, it's incredibly rare where you would win on one Saturday, the Tuesday, and then the following Saturday. So I'm hoping that it's a 7-point week and we win the next 2 games. There'd be nobody happier than me. But as I say, the more games we don't win, the more pressure it puts on the remaining games. And, I wouldn't want to be going to Brentford and Norwich needing to win.
Yeah.
They're not clubs that we have historically a lot of success against, particularly Norwich. And let's take care of business in the next game and try and win every single game we play. And I think only by doing that and doing it on a consistent basis will we even come close to achieving the sort of league table position that we want.
Yeah. So Rovers fans, we will end the stream in a moment. It's a 1-1 draw today away at Luton Town. Tough game. We've ground out a point and possibly feel a little bit hard done by at the end. We start this block of 12 games with a draw, of course, and that leaves Rovers in 14th place, 15 points from 12 games played. We are looking at this 7 points off the playoffs and also 7 points off the relegation zone. So we are firmly planted in the mid-table area where we're used to being in this division, quite frankly. So time for Rovers to start picking up some wins and start getting that points tally up to threaten the top 6 a little more, which is what we all would like. And where better place to start that winning run than Preston on Tuesday night. So we will end it there. Thanks, everyone, for joining us on the stream tonight and for leaving us your comments. Thank you, Jacob, Alex and Luke, for joining me.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. You have a good rest of your weekend. And Rovers fans, we will be back pre-match on Tuesday night, previewing the big game against Preston. And there'll be some content in between all of that, of course, with things like On the Other Side and other bits and bobs. So if you are not following us on Twitter, it's Rovers_chat on Twitter. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rovers Chat, where you will stay up to date with all the content. So, Jacob, I'm going to give you a chance to not be in the same category as the iFollow camera. You are going to lead us out with our sponsor, 6yardsout.com. Bye all.
The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 6yardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.